very important. Guys, something broke yesterday that almost broke the back of the coalition, and that is INEC's letter or INEC's statement, call it whatever, that said, well, at this moment, from this period, which is yesterday, henceforth, we will cease to accept correspondence from either David Mark-led African Democratic Congress faction or that of Rafiu Bala Gombe. And this follows a review of a Court of Appeal judgment of March the 12th. And that was like a bolt nobody saw coming. Well, I think the ADC saw it coming, which is why they had written through their lawyers to INEC. But this is where we're at right now. INEC is relying on the Court of Appeal judgment of March the 12th, which it said he has gone through. And what did that order? What did the Court of Appeal order? Well, it says maintain status quo ante bellum. That term alone has caused enough debate, enough controversy up until this moment. And yet again, it is sort of the Hercules Hills that is now affecting the ADC. They have responded, but guys, that's where we're at right now. Is this INEC acting solely on its own volition? Is this the hand of, how do you call that? The hand of INEC? The voice of someone else?
The voice of Jacob and the hand of Esau?
That's it. Yeah. That's what I was going to say.
Well, so what is status quo ante bellum? Was it when the former leadership resigned and Rafiu Bala Gombe was the only vice chairman of the party left? Or was it when the leadership handed over the reins of power to the David Mark-led leadership of the African Democratic Congress? Well, we'll leave that to be answered by the experts.
But we can define it. It means the status quo before the hostilities or before the war. So the question is, what is the war? What is before the war? But go on.
But I did see that protest yesterday by members and supporters of the African Democratic Congress. And I have, been privileged to interact with Mr. Rafiu Bala Gombe before, although briefly on the phone. And he did seem like an unassuming gentleman, peaceful, even though he sent a representative to come speak for the party on the program at that time. But is he someone who could take on the challenge of the courts, to interpret the authentic leadership of the party? Is he someone that can command that, kind of following for the African Democratic Congress? And I did see, those supporters yesterday. Do they even understand the meaning of status quo ante bellum and the issues defining?
They'll be surprised.
Well,
they may.
I'd like to be surprised. And the issues defining, the dispute of the leadership dispute in the party, do they understand? I wonder, really. And perhaps that's why the David Mark-led leadership of the party has issued a statement describing this plot, this new decision by INEC not to recognize either the Mark or the Rafiu Bala Gombe as a sinister plot by agents of the ruling APC government to pressure INEC into taking illegal action to destabilize our party following the milestone movement of His Excellency Rabiu Kwankwaso to the African Democratic Congress. After meeting a brick wall with INEC, the statement continues, they have now changed tactics, but the objectives remain the same. Perhaps Jeffrey has an answer to what status quo ante bellum is.
I read the judgment, looked at the judgment, read the communications to INEC. I think when the lawyers come, we'll be able to do justice. But you need to understand the sequence of events. There's a letter that shows, that is claimed to have showed that Gombe had resigned somewhere around May, like every other person had resigned. He said he didn't resign as the only national vice chairman. That's NWC came into effect July the 29th. He headed to courts in September 2nd, and he asked for, an originating summons asking for certain relief, but though ancillary and declarative relief, basically challenging the leadership of Mark. But there were also injunctive reliefs. They were also sought, whether interim injunction or interlocutory injunction because of an ex parte and a motion of notice. Mark apparently wasn't happy with the decision of the lower court, and interlocutory appeal went to the appeal court, and the appeal court simply said, Well, all the substantive issues technically have not been dealt with. So whatever decision go, and show why the injunction should not be granted, and then give, and this is quite important, in the judgment, so I'm speaking because there's a judgment. The consequential order of court gave 3 orders after dismissing Mark's appeal. Number 1, the trial court accelerate the hearing because of the time frame given to electoral issues, with INEC. Number 2, maintain status quo ante bello, which is the controversial issue, and then a cost was awarded against Mark. Now, both parties approach INEC, and this is important, approach INEC to say, Nafiu's group said, look, based on the appeal court judgment, it's saying maintain a status quo ante bello. I do not want you to correspond or relate or allow David Mark to parade himself and the group for any reason until the determination of the suit that is pending in the trial court. They did not say to INEC, recognize us. At least that one is not in their letter. They only said leave a leadership vacuum. David Mark Group is saying status quo ante bellum.
That's curious, Jeffrey.
Yes, status quo ante bellum. That's the interpretation. Status quo ante bellum. What is status quo ante bellum? They came as NWC 29th of July. You instituted the suit September the 2nd. The status quo ante bellum means hostilities, before the hostilities, go back before the hostilities commence, before the war. So now the question is, if NWC came in 29th and you instituted the suit 29th of July, and you instituted the suit 2nd of September, when the appeal court says maintain status quo ante bellum, how far back are we going? Because if you want to go, what was antebellum, or what was existing, there was an NWC. So the lawyers will be able to break this down. I am speaking to the judgment because I have read the judgment. I have read all the communications between them and INEC, so I can speak like this because I know what was a consequential order of court. I know what the court said and what the court did not say. But the controversy is everybody's interpreting status quo antebellum their way. Mark is saying status quo antebellum means we were already existing before you went to court. The gentleman, Nafiu Mohammed Gombe, why am I calling everybody's name? Nafiu Gombe says, antebellum, don't communicate with these people. That means leave later. INEC now decided and said, I will not talk to you, Mark. I will not talk to you, Gombe. I will only wait for the trial court to determine at the outcome. But is INEC right in their decision?
So
that's what the lawyers will do.
Can we also absolve INEC of being, being partisan, taking sides with any of the group now?
INEC simply interpreted and technically aligned with Gombe, technically, because I read Gombe's letter talking to INEC saying, do not correspond, do not do this with David Mark's group. David Mark's group is saying, no, that's not what the court meant. INEC said, instead of all this, your confusion. So it looks like technically Gombe won.
Because after all, technically, as you said,
but we have not
Gombe didn't say recognize us.
No, I didn't see it. I didn't see it in his letter. I didn't see just they told them we've said this before. There's a case in court. There's a case on appeal. So don't deal with these guys. So it's a lot of legalese.
Yeah, the court especially said we're trying to avoid a situation of fait accompli, which, I mean, you'll have done something. So whatever it is we now decide upon doesn't make sense
whatever
anymore.
Whatever INEC chose to do is a decision.
No, I'm saying why the court said maintain status quo antebellum is to sort of preserve everything. So whatever judgment they give is still relevant at the end of the day. But if they all go ahead and maybe do whatever it is they want to do on either side, the judgment would be catching up. But hey, as we said, the lawyers, the senior advocates will come on the show and interpret. Don't forget that INEC is now headed by a senior advocate as well, and we've been seeing some of these decisions. So we'll break that down for you on the show today.